Yeah, and I see Sheeb said, I don't have the funds to buy stocks. I'm fully in the crypto world. And one thing I would say to that is the stock market's changed a lot over the years. Really, over the last like 15 years, it's changed dramatically in favor of the small retail investor. Before, and this is only a few years ago, you had to buy full stocks. You couldn't buy fractional shares. That's been like kind of a newer thing. Like I think Robinhood kind of pioneered that. And then now pretty much every brokerage allows you to buy, fractional stocks. Uh, but prior to that, you always had to buy in full shares. So like if you wanted to go buy Tesla, you had to buy, $276 worth of Tesla because you had to buy one full share. Nowadays, you could literally invest $1 into Tesla or any other stock that you want to invest in. So, one thing I've told a lot of people is, especially people who say that they don't have the money to invest, is like you have the money to go buy, a coffee or go out to lunch. So you can afford to put at least $1, let's say $1 a week into whatever stock you want to invest in. And you can automate all of this stuff. So, my advice, and this has been my advice for crypto and Bitcoin as well, to a lot of people who have done really well over the last like 8 to 10 years I've been talking about it. But, take like $1 a week, or whatever amount you can afford. I would say $1 a week would be like my minimum, because I mean, $52 a year, I think if you're listening to this, you have an internet connection and some sort of tablet or phone or computer, you can probably afford $52 a year. And set up an automatic buy for whatever you want to own in the long run for $1 a week, and just let that run automatically. It's just it's an expense that you pay and don't think about it. Just let it run in the background. Check in every once in a while, make sure that it's still going and buying, and sitting in your account. Don't touch it. Consider it like a one-way street, for your retirement, and just like literally let it ride for a really long period of time. And everything I've done that with, I've done incredibly well on. I mean, it's literally never not worked. And I think that the reason for that is obviously, one, you need to pick the right thing to be buying. So you need to pick the right asset. And the way you do that is, like I said, and I really like this one quote. I think it was Paul Tudor Jones, I could be wrong, who said, invest and then investigate. So, find something that you like and may know a decent, a fair bit about. But then, once you start buying this like $1 a week, you'll be a lot more interested in investigating it further. And don't be afraid to like say, okay, well, I was wrong and I want to walk away from it. But don't do that based on like price action. Just like, as you actually fundamentally understand it, if you change your mind, then you change your mind, find something else. But find something that you're willing to hold for 10 years or more. So like if you believe that in 10 years, Tesla will be more valuable, then maybe that's Tesla for you. Or maybe it's just the S&P. Maybe you don't want to pick anything. You just want to own the market. So then you do the S&P. Or maybe it's Bitcoin and you just say, okay, well, Bitcoin 10 years from now will be worth more than $85,000. So set up an automatic buy every week and just like let that run in the background. Don't think about it. And then, maybe a few years from now, you come back to it and you say, okay, Bitcoin's 300K. I'm going to dollar cost average out of everything I've bought over the last couple of years, or, whether that's Tesla or anything else. I think it's just the ultimate strategy, especially for the, average retail investor. And like I said, it's something I've been looking at the way I invest, with a close lens over the past couple of months, just because I've been reevaluating the way I trade and do certain things. And one thing I've just kind of come to the conclusion on is that I'd say 90% or more of all the money I've made in investing has been from doing exactly what I just described. It's been the number one way I have profited as an investor. And I've been doing that since I was like 14. So, it started with and then Bitcoin and then Ethereum and Rune and other things, just taking that really long-minded approach.
Super early start.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't even know what, crypto obviously didn't exist when I was 14. It didn't exist when I was 18. I didn't even know what a stock was until I was 18 years old. And then I got kind of hooked into the market in college and right towards the tail end of the internet bubble. So I had the joy of jumping into a stock and watching it double in a year, and then watching it be worth like a quarter of the value when the bubble burst. So that was my intro into holding stocks. So it was funny timing, but yeah. And to go back to the question, I mean, it doesn't matter if you don't have money for stocks, like, and you're all in on crypto. That's fine. So just do that with crypto. You know,
Right. Right.
it's because at the end of the day, even if you have a handful of coins and most of them don't work out, as long as one of them does. So i.e. Bitcoin, then over the long run you're going to be fine. And that's something too, right? When you speak about like buying, holding, and dollar cost average, there's basically been no time with Bitcoin where if you bought it and then literally did not look at it again for 3 years, where you looked and were in bad shape. It's like, even if you bought the top, if you bought a top and then didn't look for 3 years, generally you were still in good shape.
Yeah.
So, and that's if you bought at the worst point. So if you're dollar cost averaging, it's impossible to buy at the worst point because you're, continually buying. So even if you started as your first buy was at the top, your dollar cost averaging on that whole, move down until the next bull market. So yeah, I don't think it's not so much about being in, real estate, crypto, stocks, whatever. There's so many different asset classes. I think it's just about doing it with something.
Right.
So, and that's fine to
Yeah.
be
Pick
all in
something
on
you're
crypto.
interested in.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I know real estate guys that's it, live and die real estate. They don't mess with stocks. They don't mess with crypto, and they've done well. And then I know, people that are all stocks, and I know people that are all crypto. And I personally like to diversify a bit, but to each their own. And also, there's a time and a place, right? That's like that. The quote. Calculated bets are for making money, and diversification is for keeping money. So early on, you might be better off, just riding or dying one asset class or even one asset, because you need more of a concentration, to really get the outsized gains by the move of that asset. Of course, now you're relying on that one asset, to be right on, but you could do that with, I guess, an asset class if you want to kind of spread it out, but still be concentrated. And many people did that with crypto. And there's plenty of people that, are worth millions of dollars because in 2016, 17, 18, whatever it was, they were all in on crypto and they just kept buying. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's about the long term, really. I mean, the way people get in trouble is when they start looking too short term. The more you can zoom out, the better you're going to do. And I think that's just applied really.
Yep.
Obviously, you could pick something that's not like you could have picked Kodak stock and obviously not done well. But that's that's on you for not picking the right asset.